here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get ahead of my time. Oh, but I don't wanna miss you, baby. So I stand up and speak just my mind. Oh. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're chilling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, 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 oh,
to determine what kinds of foods should be in these categories. The green text here is an example of a correct answer. The red is an incorrect answer, and the orange are the type of middle ground answers that will help to spark those discussions. And this all adheres to the CDE standards around teaching students to learn how to decide if a food is healthy or not. On the next slide here, from there we'll get into the food guidelines and a little bit of history. We'll talk about food groups and how the government has a responsibility to provide us with information and guidance where appropriate, and it's because the state has an interest in a healthy population, and of course we have an interest in helping to keep ourselves healthy as well. One goal of the healthy food guidance has always been simplicity and clarity, as nutrition is actually very, very complicated and variable. So the USDA has produced a number of charts and graphs and graphics to help us visualize healthy eating habits. So we can talk about how these changes over time have led to better clarity and simplicity. So that helps us get into some of the history of how we've thought about health. And this slide will lead us into some technology integration. The conversation about food groups will lead to conversations about food diversity and our efforts to consume a balanced and nutritious diet. So we can incorporate a bit of multiculturalism here by discussing what a nutritionally balanced my food my plate might look like in a different culture. We have example visuals here. We can get the kids talking about the diverse foods they eat at home. We have a 2-minute video here that I think does a pretty good job of showing the vast diversity that a healthy, balanced diet can take. And videos like these will hopefully keep the students engaged during the lesson. And obviously, we want to incorporate as much or some technology into our lesson plans here. So with the T-charts I showed you and the information about my plate, this video here, we're working within the CDE standards for fourth graders. We're learning about how to judge whether a food is healthy and nutritious. We are building the foundation for how to set goals in order to enhance nutritional status. And we are examining the connection between food intake and physical health. So at this point, the students have some idea of the food guides. And this, I believe, will lead us into a game portion of the lesson.
Okay, so we're going to look first at this, and this is going to be just interacting within the classroom with all the students. So there's a chart right here, and it has the portions in different age groups. So we want to look at portioning our food and applying it to the kids in the class. So if this kid's 7, they can look at the chart and see exactly how many fruits, vegetables, grains, meats, and other proteins and dairy they should be having. This should be giving them an understanding of what they should be eating every single day, and just kind of helping them to really think through it, as kids don't really think through what they're eating, and I'm sure that a lot of these kids don't have knowledge on how to be portioning their food. So we'll make this interactive. We'll have kids raising their hands, giving me examples of a plate that they could have that would be appropriate for their age, or maybe telling them an age and having them tell me what portion should be on that kid's plate. So moving on to the next part. So in this part, this is going to be an informational video. This video is just going to give them a better understanding on how to create a healthy plate. Some of these photos are demonstrations of what their plate should look like. Comparing their hand to what they're eating, that's always a very big one and something that's really easy for kids to be able to do. This video is just going to be able to help them understand what they should be eating, which is hard for kids. And the next part. So next we're going to do a game. So this game's called Kahoot. We'll have the kids break up into groups of 3. In each group, they'll have a computer. They'll click on this link. On this link, it'll take them to Kahoot. They'll work together in teams to see who can get the best score. On this game, it's going to be all about the food pyramid and portions. So questions will be like, is broccoli a healthy or unhealthy food? And they'll have to click on the correct link. Then they will have questions like, where does this food place in the pyramid? And then a few different questions that are just fun, getting their minds working. This also really helps them to work together, and every kid loves doing games. So I think this will be really wonderful to help them learn about the food pyramid.
Yeah. So the game that they play with Alexa is actually going to be reintroduced again later, just to make sure they maintain and understand this information in a later game that we're going to play. But before we do that, what I'm going to have the kids do is understanding the ideas of how portions actually go into servings. So using that chart that Alexa presented initially, I kind of have this little 5-question little fun little quiz for the kids to do, spend some time on, and decide the answers of the serving. Like for instance, in the 4th grade age group, 1 apple equals 1 serving. So they count them all, 8 apples. And there'll be some where it's like 2 pieces of bread, or 3 eggs, or 2 cups of broccoli. These things I want the kids to think a little bit more critically about, and think about how adding an extra slice of bread or too much or misunderstanding your portions make your servings wrong, and then promote in some facet non-healthy eating according to MyPlate. So once the kids have been called upon, I'll annotate all the answers on the board, and then I will slide in the correct answers next to them. So if they were correct, they would have 8, 10, 9, 16, and 15. This gets them in the idea of using math, because that's a big portion of like nutrition and understanding that, in order to make sure that they're meeting like the MyPlate standard. And then using this knowledge that they just gained, as well as bringing back that information that Alexa and Brian disclosed, which is, what is the food pyramid, what is MyPlate, what falls into grains, vegetables, etc. They're going to do this quiz. And the quiz is going to have some of the similar questions that the earlier one did, except when I divide the kids in groups and they join in through the smartboard, I'm going to be able to separate them into different groups so they start learning and collaborating with other people. And then the quiz is going to have math questions in it as well. So it's going to reintegrate what we've already talked about and then push them to learn the math side. So one of the questions, for instance, in there is there's 25 fruit, and it's if Susie has 9 apples, 6 bananas, 5 pears, 3 plums, and 2 mangoes, what is the fraction of apples that Susie has? So we're introducing that math standard and everything in there. We're going to really hit the standards within this, as well as pushing them to make sure that they're hitting those learning objectives. So after the quiz is over, the winner of the quiz, or the group winning of the quiz, will be able to have a little bragging rights, a little bit of fun, a little bit of competition. And then I'm going to give them homework, and I'm using MyPlate, the website for MyPlate, to not only have them find this information and write it down, but what I want them to also do is be able to have access to the website and be able to look at this information later on. So what's going to end up coming is they're going to do the Crack the Secret Code, which is just like a word match game, just to be a little bit fun, a little bit writing skills and stuff like that. And then the main one is the crossword puzzle, which is really going to capture the ideas of MyPlate, like what are fruits? Like number 2 on the across says apples, oranges, and bananas fit into this food group. Really push them to understand that information, but then by providing them access to this website, then they can actually incorporate it, because there's a lot of fun tools for them to mess around with. And they could look at, for instance, the state of Colorado. What are the main proteins you'll find in Colorado that are specific for your state? Or you can look country-wise or anything like that. So we really want to make sure all kids have this inclusion part, as well as maintain the ideas of what healthy eating actually is. And that is it for our presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you guys have a great day.